Welcome to the conversation. We are excited to bring this to you. There's a talk about bridging gaps. One of the gaps that has been talked about, that has gotten a lot of attention, has to do with women leaders. A lot of people have also stated that, for a fact, there are some significant changes that have been seen, especially on the continent of Africa. I dare say that some developed countries or economies have not dared to do what Namibia has done. Even the United States of America has not dared to do. And so for me, it's pride and all joy. But of course, down there are other ladies, girls who want to go up and climb just as others are doing. And so that's why we need to have a conversation on that. And today we're focusing on raising the next generation of female leaders. John Appiah, surprisingly, is a man, but joins the conversation, all right? He is the president, African Chamber for Youth Development. Joins us first time in the studios. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We're grateful, grateful. But of course, face that has been here over and over again. The ever refreshing, evergreen, ever sweet Maame Ekua Gaisey. She's the people enabler. And so she comes through to share her thoughts with us once again.
Thank you.
And when we get her, it's like, praise the Lord, because Mami is always busy. And so thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Are you both Fantis?
Yes. I'm Ghanaian.
I am.
Really?
Yes, yeah. I am.
But he is Fanti, and that's why I just want to, right, you are. But of course, there we are, and of course, our very own women and children advocate is also here with us. Biadela joins us as well for the conversation. Biadela, it's good to have you again.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, I hear you are from the UN. Anyways, let's get on to some platforms. Let's talk about. I mean, you have talked to me about the work you have been doing, though. In about a minute. Let's know what you do.
So I'm part of an organization called the African Chamber for Youth Development.
Right.
It's an NGO that is focused on empowering young people with relevant leadership skills and the relevant soft skills to prepare them for the next phase. We believe that the youth indeed are the future, but we need to prepare them now so that by the time they are ready or by the time they get to the future, they will be able to lead. So that's what we've been into over the past few years.
I love the issue of soft skills because that's what is missing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what is missing.
I agree.
I think we have all it takes, but the soft skills are missing. But you tell, I mean, for people who are seeing you for the first time, we are not seeing you for the first time, I don't know who you are, but share with us what you have also been involved in.
So my name is Maame Ekua Gaisey. We're very focused on organizational culture at the corporate level, 4565. But as an individual, I've always been an advocate for building young people to live purposeful lives. So it's about nurturing people to, even not just young people, adults actually, 50-year-olds are still trying to find their purpose. So moving them into the place where they can flourish.
I see. Before I bring Biadela in, I just want to start with you. The issue of what you have seen so far, what's the gap really like? Because again, people have always said that the boys are readily available, the young men are readily available, but for some cases, the women might be off. They are busy doing some things. At what level have you done it, and what's the gap looking like?
So right from the secondary schools all the way through to the universities and to people that are actually in the world of work, if you take a casual look at the leadership representation, so for example, if you take senior secondary school and you're looking at the student leaders across board, you realize that more often than not, especially if it's a mixed school, you may realize that there may be a lot of boys in leadership positions compared to the ladies, right? And for me, that's where it all starts from. You know, we don't have to wait until they're in a corporate world before we try to fix things and get a lot of young women into leadership. So right from the very basics, even in the classroom, primary, JSS, class prefect, and all of them are boys. Meanwhile, there are women in the class, right? So from that level, it continues all the way until it gets into the corporate world. I am personally of the opinion that we don't have to work the reverse. We need to start at the basics to ensure that we have a steady stream of pipeline of young, competent ladies who would eventually rise to the top. But I realize that a lot of emphasis sometimes go to those already in the corporate world.
Yeah.
You know, we're told that you don't teach an old dog a new
trick.
Right?
Yeah.
So we need to be very conscious about reversing the trends, starting from the very basics.
That's significant. I mean, it's very instructive how you put it. Why didn't you stand for any position in your class or in the school? Biadala, I want to know.
I was the class prefect from like class 4 to class 6, and then JHS I was. I just didn't have the energy for, the tertiary system where you have to campaign, and people.
What was your fear?
I thought, okay, so when I was in tertiary, I was let me put it this, I was risk averse. I didn't want to fail. And so the fear of, okay, probably I would stand there, my face would be on posters, and then I don't get it, then what's going to happen then? So I just didn't, I would shy away from it because at a younger age, it was easier. You are the class prefect.
Yes.
From today to go. Finish.
Okay.
You get it? And it was easier. Yeah. If you were doing well, they'll vote for you again.
That's okay.
But, I didn't have to literally appeal to people to want to vote for me. Then at the point I thought, so what if all the nice things I say during my manifestos and all that, I don't get to do it?
Okay.
Then I leave school with a very heavy head. People were like, oh, she was the SRC something, she didn't do anything. So I didn't want to be a part of that. But I would rather encourage people, oh, Charlie, I your back.
Let's go.
Why not?
Encourage guys or ladies? Both of them. Is that the case where at this point where we have to start selecting them and say, come, holding their hands and say, you go and open the doors as compared to the guys? Is that where you think we should be? Or we open it?
I'll start from where the last jumped off. I have a very different case. So during primary school, I wouldn't. I was just, just make your grades, be first in class, and your report card should look good, and that was it. Class prefectship, not really. Now in secondary school, I had a predecessor, or the year before us had, and I went to a mixed school. So the prefectship was actually appointed. So there were nominations. They would go for vetting, and they would be appointed. So the year before us had the first female head girl. She was overall school prefect. So the male was her assistant.
Okay.
She's handing over, and somehow she thinks she's got females that can do the job. So I came up. So I was appointed, went for vetting, and came out, and I was appointed the school prefect. And that's when the school came to a standstill. I've never said this in media before. I'm telling you, my school came to a standstill because most of the females would not have that.
Right.
They thought, yeah, we like you, we love you, we want you to be in leadership, but can the guy be the head boy? And okay, so we have the head boy and the head girl, but in this case, then he's a school prefect and you're the assistant school prefect. So it was going to be me, the school prefect, and he there. I'm telling you,
so the girls themselves,
a lot more. And of course, then the guys caught on. And within days, was it hours or days? I don't even remember it clearly. But all I remember is rush. We had to go and give a manifesto, which I'd never planned for because I'd been told I was going to be the school prefect.
Yes.
And campaign.
Oh, no.
To get the overall school prefect. We voted. Then people walked to me and said, we love you and everything, but we are going to give it to the guy because we don't want the people. This is it. The tagline was not a lack of competence, a lack of trust of delivery, but they didn't want other schools to think that we had become a girls' school. We wanted to lift and hold our men in an esteem where they would be respected because it had happened and they didn't want to repeat. So that's how I went into elections. And I lost to the gentleman. So I was a head girl, but I was the ASP. So that was it. At university, I didn't have those fears, but I really just wanted to make my grades and just move on. But those are the realities at that level. So I was very interested when he was talking about starting from the basic school, because I never had the fear of standing in front and promising and saying and you know, and I always got help when I needed to. Now tertiary though, this is who I became. Everybody wanting a position would come to Maame for strategy. So I've grown from that point on to corporate to almost be like the kingmaker, if you like.
Jagaban.
Come, let's rock it. And it didn't matter whether it's a male or a female. I'm going to support you. We're going to make sure that we do good. But for me to be in the seat has never been attractive. And incidentally, then I get into corporate and I've always been the first, like the only female on the male-dominated team, the first to hold a role that then becomes a regular position, you know. So it's my situation is a bit different. When I'm saying this, I say that I've also had probably some of the best female bosses, as opposed to the normal female bosses. I've had some of the most amazing. In fact, my female bosses have actually been very instrumental in my lives, but I've had more male mentors.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
right.
So
I see. Very, very interesting.
So the holding the door can happen either way, Koku, because you could say, okay, so Della, you're going to start this so that others will be inspired. I can imagine, this is in the 90s, that this was the mindset of the staff, of the teaching staff in my secondary school at that time, and it was going to happen. So we actually went onto the books as the first year group to have elections, because until then there was nomination, vetting, appointment by the standards that the teaching staff held very high. So yeah, we can hold or not, but whichever way, I have my pros and cons for both ways. So when we get there,
Safi, I've had a perspective. It's unconventional, forgive me, but I say that if you have identified that there's a system that is failing, how about you use those who believe have the strength to solve it? This is where I come from. So if the women, we are having issues with creating spaces for the women, how about we conscientize the boys to say that you must help a girl come up above you or beside you, or you even behind. Because if they are going to climb up, by all means, because they have the freedom, they have the opportunity to get in there, they are always going to climb up, leaving the women. So how about we speaking to the minds of the men, rather than focusing on the women? Because if the men can create space and say, go up, the women will go up.
You put it very nicely. But in practical terms, it's a bit problematic, and I'll try and explain why.
Please do.
From my experience in the corporate world, right from university to the corporate world, I've realized that there's this competitive mindset that typically comes into play between men and women, right? And I think that for me is the beginning of the problem, right? Because if it is we against them, there will never be any consensus for us to move forward, right? So I have always been of the opinion that the men play a very critical part. And I was very happy when I was given an invitation to come on the show to come and talk about this, because typically it would have been an all-female panel.
Exactly. So I nearly sacked that. I had to go to that. It's a
step in the right direction. Right. But I think that it is important, especially from my point of view, for the men to understand that at the end of the day, it's the betterment of society that we want. At the end of the day, there are goals we want to achieve. At the end of the day, there's a particular place we are going to. So whether male or female, if we have this mindset that whoever is competent, is ready, and is capable, let us push the way for the person to get into leadership, right? So that it doesn't become an issue of, okay, there are more men than women. So when we are voting, it will be very less likely that the woman will come up, right? And for the women also to have that mindset that we are not in competition with the men. We are not trying to, as it were, outdo and outperform. typically everybody should aim to do well and to excel.
Yeah.
No two ways about it. But at the back of your mind, I think that the mindset shouldn't be that we'll prove to the men or we'll prove to them that we too we did. That's why I think that the problems start coming in, because you see, it is normal for people to resist people that attempt to sabotage them or take advantage of them. You get my point? So I think that when we have that mindset that, look, it is all about the organization. It's all about progress, right? And once we're able to work together, because what will prevent both of you, you are presenters, right? And you are doing an interview, then she has a strength that maybe you may not have.
Absolutely.
What is wrong with her interjecting and continuing, right? So if you see it that way, then there will be no problems. But if she tries to prove, or you try to prove that you are dominant, you're in charge, you're not going to allow her to talk, then of course there will be that friction. And that is where the problems start coming from. So I am utterly convinced that the men have a critical role to play. But we need the women to also cooperate with us. We need the women to also work with us, right? I was happy when she talked about some of the female bosses she had. I've had a number of female bosses, and unfortunately, they not like they were not competent, but the cordial engagement became a problem because, in my opinion, most of them will try to show you that I am in charge.
I am the boss.
And that's what the problem. And typically, even male or female, you will resist anybody that attempts to do things like that. I have also seen female bosses who have made a conscious effort not to encourage other females to rise to the top. So they're myriad of issues, but I think that the ultimate thing is for both men and women to have the mindset that we are looking at the ultimate goal, whether male or female. We are looking at the person that will drive the conversation, and the person should be able to rally everybody behind it. Because in corporate leadership, there's always office politics. So if you attempt to show me that you day, I will show you that me too I day. And that's what the problem is. And unconsciously, a lot of competent female leaders are sabotaged because of some of these rancors that exist, within the body politics of work.
I see.
So it's a very interesting dynamic.
I see. Yeah.
Well, I've just been thinking about my, very corporate days where my boss was a woman, and the moment she showed up, I mean, she doesn't even have to show up. Her footsteps were communication. Like, you needed to sit straight.
When she's coming.
When you hear her, I mean, that's Mary. She's Mary. When she's coming, like everything has to be in shape. You get what I mean? Okay. And she gave us the vibe that you're either doing it right or you're going home. Oof. Real quick.
Is that
like
draconian?
No.
It's not.
There are a lot of men doing that, leading like that. Why is it draconian? Because it's a woman.
Because it's a woman.
No, don't take it there. I will not come into an office and say, when you don't do it right, you are going home.
Right.
Because I will say, I want to teach you.
Because,
Because I hired you because I thought you can do it.
Yes, and she made it known to us that because of the pressure or the challenges she faced, getting to that level, and she didn't want to go back leading people who will put her through same problems. You understand? So she gave her stance. You're right, or you're going home.
And just to add to it, even if it's a man doing that, it is wrong. I mean,
it's wrong. That's my point.
So it's neither male or female. If it's a man in power who is doing that, of course, that's not the right thing to be done, right?
Well,
so
maybe
that we don't
there's
make
a
it look
context.
like a bias.
John,
Right.
maybe there's a context. What I hear the last saying is that she says, I'm not going to allow you to let me fail by your inactions or actions.
So I go through the stress.
I'm sure that she would have put in place some support systems that will make sure that you're either doing it right, or if now you decide that I will not do it right, then
So you see,
Because a man would also want your inactions to sabotage your leadership.
Exactly.
So
but that
leadership
takes
for
me to my question that as a woman, I'm very sure that you've had such experiences, right? How do we go about it so that first off we don't lose ourselves as women in the process of leading these people, mentoring these people, so that they don't become, like Koku says, draconian without them even knowing that this is how I'm being shaped, just working with you.
Okay, so first and foremost, let's get back to some of the basics.
Please do.
Guys, I work with a lot of young people and parents. I'm telling you that you'll be surprised that based on the interventions that we have had in place since maybe I was still a teenager, so this is more than 2 decades ago, we are beginning to see a rise in numbers of young males that feel very timid and feel left behind and feel not prepared enough for leadership.
Young men.
Yes.
Yo.
Yes. Over the month of March, on the back of IWD, had 4 corporate invitations.
Okay.
There was a particular, this is an estate development company. The guys were even more in the session than the ladies. And their point, everybody got up and asked the question, what about us? Think about it. In the life of the calendar, how we have now come to raise IWD. Where is that day for a male professional? Does it not matter anymore? Okay, now when you realize that it is a problem, it's only because nature will dictate that as you choose to be put in the family way, you will drop off. That's how this comes. If you go into the universities now, yes, maybe political positions, the ladies are not standing for it, but the ladies are more scholarships, they are given more opportunities. Everything is female between 18 and 25.
Yes.
Go online, look for programs. So even though we've not been given the opportunities, I have actually been worried. And you see this in movies about us raising generations to come where the men feel they just have to sit and wait. And now the female empowered ladies become frustrated because they're looking for a strong man because she is so strong that you have to be more like...
That's how it is.
So strong that she will feel, okay, we can have a conversation. Go online. Ladies talking about, yes, I'm not being selfish, but I want a rich man. I want a man who is assertive. I want a man. But an assertive man in the wrong direction is abusive.
That's right.
So there's a mixture of conversations, which is not as simplistic, give the ladies opportunities or let there be cooperation. I look at this mentorship and leaving legacy conversation as going back to the basics. We both have naturals. Me, if you give me the whole world, I don't want to be a man. I am so happy and so comfortable being a female and a lady. Why? Because I think I bring something to the table that the two of you will never figure when we are having discussions. When I'm leading, there's an energy I bring that the two of them can never bring themselves to it. And it doesn't matter that we both have the same education, the same exposure, and the same guidance. So question is, how do we then encourage that level of tip over, especially in corporate leadership?
Right.
We are talking about over 60% in Namibian parliament being females.
Yes.
President Vice.
You are using the U. I don't think it's a good example. Let's go into the Scandinavians.
Okay.
They are pro-female. Even Sweden and Finland cannot boast of
They
that.
cannot. We dare them to.
You understand? But that's a starting point. My question is, what do we do when a lot of females at a national service actually get the nod to stay in? Do the statistics. Let's look at numbers. I like data. When females and males come into the workplace at the end of the national service at entry level, because remember entry level roles are front desk, admin assistant, and most of them are females.
Yeah.
So we get into the workplace ahead of the men. They struggle 2, 4, 5 years of unemployment and they come in. And by the way, he comes in, finds a lady that has a bit of preparation for marriage. She marries and she rather now has to go on maternity leave and come back. And the guy is about 4 years ahead of her already.
Yeah.
And the few that will say, okay, I'm going to risk everything and take my career over, we call them names in society. So it's not as simplistic. I like that we bring it from the lower end.
Yeah.
But there's a point where something goes wrong. Because I will argue anywhere, anytime, that I think that now we are at a place where the young women have so much opportunity. We have so many mentors. I look for mentorship programs generally, and most of them, 80% of them are for women.
For women. That's
scholarships are skewed towards females.
Lots of funding that.
A lot.
Yes.
Female-led businesses. Now I'm even looking to go and apply for some. You understand? So my question is, what do we do
We bridge
at the point where now we are sitting at a C-suite And some females are actually brought to the table just for the statistics.
Yes.
Because we measure, and the matrices have to look good. So you're brought on, irrespective of what you know, how much you can do, that we will look good. And CSR matrices are looking for a balance at the boardroom. So people are just, bringing on the females, or the C-suite looks too masculine. So we bring, and by the way, by the time we bring that female who has succeeded, you're not necessarily bringing a female energy to the table, because some of us are as red as men. So you bring me to the table, and my views with him, he might even be more feminine than I. You understand? Because she has braced through so many things. Yeah. Now she comes out, she's looking like, why is she? And then they begin to brand them. So I think it is the natural roles and the response to what we do when we go into playing our motherly and childbearing roles, and what happens after that needs to be looked into. Because a lot of the policies then come in. A lot of strong women will say, no, let us fight it out. I'll go head to head. If I get it, you know that I'm good. Yeah. I don't want favors. I don't want affirmative actions. Some people too say, give it to them, because nobody knows what happens in pregnancy. You might be as strong and healthy until you're put to bed rest for 8 months of your 9 months of pregnancy. So Koku and Dela, I look into this conversation with, and I like that over the next few days, you're going to look into the Christian space, into the family space. Yes. So how are we bringing them up at home? Yeah. Is the girl the one always doing the dishes? Is the guy the one always fixing the machines? How do we, switch that? Do we then clone males out of girl children? No. Right. But how do we then speak to our male children, the mothers of the boys? I'm talking to you. How do we speak to the male children to let them understand that their support for the females from classroom to the social space, to the workplace, and in marriage is critical to allow the females to also build?
Well, so just as Mami had intimated, this is part of a 3-day, if you like. So from here, we're going to do family, we're going to church as well. Living legacies, right? It's got to be lived, because otherwise you start something. How many businesses have traveled 50 years? On the continent of Africa. How many elsewhere? There are 100 and something year old family businesses that are not necessarily even run by the people themselves, the children, but they also are strategic points and all of that. How do we create that? Also, I still come back, and I'm coming to Mr. Appiah on this one. How do we, is it perhaps a case, and I want clarity so that probably I stop speaking about it. Create more empowerment programs. Create more even for boys. But while you are there, for want of a better word, indoctrinate them into believing that women have the right to be above you, have the right to be beside you. You have the right to be there. It's just a normal thing for you to do so. Otherwise, I feel that we might be applying these cosmetics, it will go and come back, or how we are going about it, raising the female, they will come and be fighting with feminine boys, because for them, it's just about having the life, they are pampered and all of that. Is that the case? Do we go there? Let's empower them. But the empowerment rather is to speak to them and say, Biadela can be above you.
So there are a number of angles I'd like to take this conversation. So, for example, I think that the media, for me, plays a very important part in recreating a narrative, right? There are a lot of success stories of young, accomplished women that are doing great things, right? But the question is that how many of them get the limelight to share their stories or to tell the story?
Let me just say a big thanks to Mr. Kwanzaa for putting that show up back in the Obama. That's that particular that particular show unearthed a lot of women doing a lot of things.
So that is very important, because the more people see and know
Yeah.
that, yes, there are a lot of young women or women in very powerful positions who are doing a lot to change the circumstances of the societies they find themselves in. It goes a long way to play on the minds of the young men, young women to virtually accept that it is normal for a woman to rise up to the very top. And it is normal for the woman to rise to the top and still make remarkable, significant impact that even affects the males. That story has to be told, and the media plays a very powerful part of it. Now, if you look at the social media context as well, unfortunately, that's where, for me, a lot of rot is being churned out, you know, and unfortunately, some women are putting themselves in a certain way that is affecting the hard work some of us are doing to paint the picture that a woman is not restricted to just come and show face and dance and go. But a woman is results-oriented. A woman is achievement-oriented. A woman is proud to talk about her achievements, not to just showcase her looks and probably how she can cook. And that's where the problem comes in, because you realize that for people, especially the Gen Z people looking for clout, they are doing all manner of things to trend. And unfortunately, when you look for practical role models or examples, sometimes you are not able to mention a lot because the people you mention are doing something else on social media, and that is reversing the hard work some of us are putting into trying to show the narrative that the young woman is capable of doing great things, right? So we need to look at those two angles. Very important. In fact, I dare challenge any social media influencer who over a period of time has just been showcasing, I don't want to get into trouble, but we are looking forward to them showing us exactly what they can do. Because look, the conversation in social media sometimes can be very detrimental. That, oh, she got there because of her looks, she got there because of all those things. And we need to change the narrative, and we need women, young women, to be able to showcase that, look, I'm not here to just show you how I look, but I'm here to show you what I have done, what I am doing. I have this business, and this is what's driving the business. So such conversations will start, you know, pushing, especially the young ones, they're monitoring what's happening on social media, to know that they are competent role models that they can look up to. Now, the issue of competence for me is very important. If we don't talk so much about it, it becomes a problem. Now, you can create an avenue where you are reducing, for example, the cutoff point for a lady or a woman as compared to a male. And sometimes it can be problematic. So, for example, if all males, you need to get 6 A's to pass, for a woman, it may be reduced to, say, 2 A's, 3 A's. I think that such mindsets will foster mediocrity. Because, look, I've been in classrooms that the women are top of the class. Brother, you will study, you will learn, you will mind, but she'll come and pass you.
What is this?
What's happening?
What is this?
So it tells you the power of the mind, right? So sometimes in an attempt to encourage more women, if we lower the rankings or we lower the bar, it becomes problematic. So when they get, some of them get into leadership, the quality is questionable. And like Maame is saying, if you get into leadership because, oh, it's been meant for the past 10 years, let's put one woman there, it is a problem, because at the end of the day, there are legacies to be maintained and there are things to be done. So the conversation for me should be that we encourage the young women or the women in general to believe that, yes, they have what it takes. And we don't have to lower the gap because it is a woman. So, for example, even in politics, filing fee, they say 100,000 for men, for women, 60,000.
How?
Or because economic disparity does exist.
I understand. But my point there again is that there are a lot of powerful women entrepreneurs who are far more wealthier than the men, right? True. So if you are determined to do something, you find a way. You find a way of doing it to achieve those results. So we need to look at all those things contextually. Other than that, in an attempt to make women or flood the system with women, they may be substandard and they may not achieve. And the problem is that when they get to the top and they fail, it becomes a permanent mark that is difficult to erase. So let us not make the work difficult for the women. Let us help them.
Let's help them, and that's the let's help them, but know how to help them. That's we have agreed. We've opened the phone lines now. You can talk to us. Have you had a very difficult boss that's a woman? How did you navigate? Have you had an opportunity to go up, and the system had to prevent you from going up as a woman? What's your thoughts on growing women leaders? What do you think that some strategies that we can adopt? You can call us and share with us.
Yeah. So, Maame, I wanted to ask Maame, what are some of the challenges raising man. I mean, corporate, in the corporate space, where you have, women feeling like, okay, like he said, we're empowered, we can do this and all of that. What challenges do you face raising men in that space?
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask when we're going to talk about that, but what you would realize is that the men feel this is my space. A lot of them.
Okay.
Yes, they come into the space thinking, this is my space. Now, my question is, how did the female get there? There's a silent power and trust that comes with competence, as John said, that cannot be negated in this walk. I, at some point, and I'll be, this is on social media so they can come at me. I at some point told myself I was not going to bother my head with female mentorship.
Oh.
Why?
Yes. Look, you get into a corporate space, you are rising, you definitely want to carry a young woman along. My dear, the troubles that come with it. And it's not troubles that you need to deal with to support her. They are unwilling.
Exactly.
I do mentor both males and females. On Saturday, I'd given my word to a young man who wants some navigation through transition. I said, let's connect by 7 p.m. I forgot because I got too busy to send him the link. By 6:50, he was in my DM. Madam, I've not received the link.
That's right.
I serve on very promising and prominent mentorship programs for women. Again, for women. They'll come online and say, yeah, we are available 8 p.m. You get online, if you're not careful, it's just you and the hostess.
Right. They're unavailable.
Readiness. Everything else could be more important. And we sat together and I asked them, what is it? Even the meeting, they were late. Somebody came over 2 hours later. So I asked them, what are the challenges? Madam, I have to do this. Oh, madam, I really want to learn. But so what are the teething problems that are coming up? But if you ask me, in the workplace, a lot of people will tell you, and that's why you get into a space where a female is a CEO and her whole entourage is males. Yes, including the PA. The readiness to learn, the readiness to work. She's concerned about her bone straight wig, that is $1,005. She's concerned about the green shoes you're wearing and how come she's
Girl, I'm wearing green shoes.
I said that. She's concerned about the fact that you're wearing gold and everything else but the very vehicle that's available for her to rise and be able to get all these things. Because it's only a matter of time. But the guy is looking at, what am I learning? Look, I have my meal. Somebody will come and say, hey, madam, so what's your schedule like? Can I drive you? Offer. Yeah, they'll come. Can I drive you? Because you can't drive with me and not have a conversation. And what's the conversation about your growth, your business, so they would rather do that. But the female, you would call it. So it's a challenge. We need to have the conversation both ways and come to a place where we are agreeing that it's not easy for them growing up as a young woman, living life in its fullness. Because remember that we don't also want them to be looking shabby. So as opposed to John, who pulls on his jeans and shirt and comes to sit here, I have to make sure my hair is on, my makeup is on, am I wearing the right earrings, my shirt, the last to make sure her heels and, so it's life. Now, how do we help them navigate those challenges and so show up? Because they need to be present so they can be mentored. Otherwise, it becomes a problem. Right. So that's the reality.
There's a call on the line,
there are people ready to mentor, but are the ladies available and ready to walk through?
Frank is calling us from Nsawam. Frank, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're on it. 1 minute, let's go.
All right. So I have this female boss who, when she came into the business, our company, she didn't know anything about the work. But as time goes on, she got to know a little bit about it. So she became bossy and all that. And she began making mistakes and all that. So I'm asking, in this situation, what do I have to do about it?
When she's making mistakes?
Yeah, mistakes and coming back to us to ask her about how to go about it and all that.
It's a big problem, even how she managed to get to that position.
Okay.
Do you get it?
To say that you're not competent.
Competence is important. Look, if you are competent, it gives you a certain level of confidence.
Oh, yes.
Even if your subordinates are misbehaving, you get the work and get it done.
Yes.
Right? But if you are put there for showing face, that's what the problem is. And that's where people can sabotage you. They will deliberately feed you with wrong info that will make you make terrible mistakes, and then your tenure just comes on abrupt end. So we should never downplay the power of competence and making sure that the people who promote to the top are capable, because there's a certain legitimacy that comes with the competence level that you have yourself in. Other than that, this will be the problem. Now that, according to this young man, the lady started understanding a bit of their business. She's bossy. So imagine she's 100%. Charlie, everybody die for the business.
How then do we navigate this? Because it says
if you're
making mistakes. It's making mistakes.
So there should be the willingness to learn, number one.
From
which
who?
Is very from the woman at the top.
But he's asking what he would rather do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that if you look at the big picture, that we want this organization to succeed, you have the answers. You don't keep it to your chest. You walk up and present the answers that, Madam, this is what I suggest we do. It will help us. We will get there. And the woman should, or the lady at the top, or the woman at the top should be ready to learn. Do you get it? Like I've said in the beginning, if there's that competitive mindset there, then the sabotage thing comes as a second nature, right? So because there are a lot of things that the people at the bottom can teach you. And even not because it's a woman, even for us men, if we get to the top and we appear too bossy and all that, people know certain things, they won't tell you. You go and crash, and then you come back and they'll sit down and laugh at you. So there should be the willingness to learn, and people should always look at the big picture at the end of the day. Because look, if this young man begins to think that, oh, let her go and fail, if the business crashes, you are sacked. You don't have a job.
True.
Your daily bread will be something else. So we need to have the big picture in mind all the time, and we should be willing to offer ourselves, like she indicated. Some male will try and say, oh, I want to even drive you, I want to carry your bag along. But a woman may never want to do that. But the point is that we should be willing to support those in leadership. And those in leadership should be accommodative enough, humble enough to be able to listen. Other than that, we're in big trouble.
The traditional roles that we've spoken about, and call it misconceptions around them, is to say that you broke it down and said it's strength and weaknesses. Because I'm not sure I want to do a lot of the things you people do as well.
Cannot, actually.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. So why are people still? Is it just because of now the issues of affirmative action and we need equity, equality, without understanding that there are some traditional roles? I'm confused. Like I get confused.
There's nothing wrong with me being a woman wanting to own my kitchen. There's a lot of social media that's making the men think that if a man wakes up and doesn't cook for the wife and doesn't change diapers and sometimes he's not man enough. It's good that the males are taught to support, but we need to be mindful of how we are going about this. So the female feels if I meet a man who cannot do these things, then there's a problem. Question is Della happy to have a diaper-changing, cooking husband? Or she wants a providing, protecting husband?
Keep that question there. Keep it there. Let's pick this call, then you finish it. Please, don't lose your thoughts. Sylvia is calling us from Tema. Sylvia, can you hear us?
Yes, please, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. You have 1 minute. Let's go.
Okay. So my own is not a question, but I want to do some small contribution. Okay, so I feel female leaders shouldn't be encouraged in this country. I think female leaders shouldn't be encouraged at all. Right. Because the moment a lady gets that post, that position, then she starts to be some bosses, she will start giving you some bad attitude. Hey, women. So me, I think women leaders shouldn't be encouraged at all.
This song, keep it.
I know.
Oh my goodness, we need to keep this voice. It will be my ringtone. Oh my goodness.
But you see, probably it's out of the experience that Sylvia has.
Yeah.
But before we address that, you can finish whatever.
So just as the woman is being encouraged not to be everything because you have limited energy and everything, the man should also be encouraged not to be everything in the name of fitting social media models. There is a reason God created us the way we are. We are great at certain things, but we can be good at the other things.
That's right.
And that's not to say, look, if you want to go bottom, check homes where the mother is the goer, as my niece would say. When you are the one that's always going, there has to be extra effort to hold the home together.
Yeah.
I am a goer. I go, my husband goes. And I know it requires extra energy to hold the home together. Sometimes I'm cooking at 2 a.m.
Just because you have to get up.
Because I have to, or because I've been out the entire day. And you don't want help, you don't want a house help. You need to. So we need to be very mindful that these natural roles, I don't want to call them traditional, they're just natural assigned roles, are there for a reason because we are better at it. We go through pain that you guys can't bear a tenth of.
Oh yeah, no.
You understand, from menstruation all the way to all sorts of things, and then changes. Now to the 9 months before, and some for me like more than 9 months, and for some now with artificial insemination and a lot. You don't want to even know that. But in that vein, does it stop me from aspiring to and qualifying for a senior position? No. If I show up and I'm competent and I have the right behaviors. Look, one of the things that is doing as in, which Sylvia has alluded to, is values and behaviors. It's not so much competence, because we have so many bossy men with their noses in the air.
Don't mind them.
You understand? Nobody's talking about them. But it's just her view of a woman is that a woman is more loving, calm, smiles, motherly. And so if a woman comes up and shows up values and attitudes and behaviors of a male person, then it becomes a problem. But
and you remember I made the point that sometimes when some women get into the top, they need to prove beyond every reasonable doubt that they are very capable, they are very strict, and I've been in situations where there are two bosses on the same level, male and female, but the female subordinates would rather prefer to engage with the male than to the woman, because they feel that she won't even listen, she won't give you the chance. Do you get the point? So I think that women
also... It's complicated,
though. You see, there's always the issue that women are the people doing themselves, and that has become a lot of conversations. I know, but can you imagine Sylvia speaking like that?
I know.
And we have a lot of Sylvias.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Much more.
So we need to really look at it very well. Maybe the women that get to the top, there's more focus on emotional intelligence and emotional training. Look, I was in a situation where the top person the person at the top was a woman, and she came in dressed in a particular way. And the national service person came in dressed the same way as the woman at the top. Can you believe the woman at the top went back home to go and change, because there's no way she can be on the same level that
I don't understand. Though.
No, so
like we are wearing,
they did Anko.
Assuming that this is what you're wearing today, then you go to the office feeling good and all that. And the national service person comes in wearing the same thing, not by plan, it just happened. And you're like, what?
So it's not like, you did. Come on, let's take a picture.
Not an issue.
She went
I
back.
have to go and change and show you that I am the boss, and that's a bit problematic to the extreme, right? So we need to have this conversation to encourage.
I'm actually gaping.
The women that get to the top to be a bit more tolerant. We have seen even in political leadership when certain women ministers have been seen to be harsh, abusive, condescending, and all that, because they have to show that yes, we are the people in power.
Cause Wabre.
Well, but that is where the other young ladies get very intimidated and they may not want to even cooperate or coordinate with you. And I can promise you, if you are a woman at the top and you are going on that trajectory, the male will crash. They will oppose you with every strength that they have. But it shouldn't be the case. No. The ultimate goal is to make the system work.
I think women are just extremists.
Can just be extremists. Maybe can be.
Can be, yeah.
Yeah, because if she wants to get all motherly,
she goes over.
She would go
I understand
all the way. Yes. And sometimes when a mother is being very motherly, it looks as though, this one is your favorite because you get it, and they don't want to do that in the workplace, so they want to put on, I'm tough, let's get the work done. Then that also
smiling.
goes
get the job done.
overboard, So I don't know how
the instances they feel they're being taken advantage of.
Right.
And there are instances where, to be very honest, people actually do undermine them because they're females.
Oh, yes.
What they will not a lot on the streets. Or your bars, don't worry. Who is driving? Who is that? Oh, it's a girl. Don't worry.
I can't that remark.
Right? Anyway, I don't want to say I've also said it once or twice. Why is the person driving like
It's the lady.
No, but that's me saying that you don't have to rush it. I was magnanimous enough to. But finally, final words.
Yeah, final.
Is it not the case that Africa needs to begin to contextualize, not to just adopt or adapt to, if you like, these affirmative actions elsewhere. Also because we are very cultural, traditional in our things. Indeed, we even import some of these things into leadership. Is to say that the announcement of where our vice president is, I'm told that culturally, you cannot come out and be announcing that it's here and there. So the issue of transparency even has to be contextualized in the culture we have. Is it not the case that we also contextualize some of these things in there? We think that we can just rope it in, pick it, and then...
Okay. In my opinion, when we just...
Sorry, it's a big one, but we have to find on this one.
I think that if we try to bring from outside, from the West, and directly implement it without looking at the context, we'll always have a problem.
Which I think we are doing.
So we have to make sure that we take the context into consideration.
Right.
It is very important. The cultural nuances, it is important. You cannot overlook those things. But that should not be a limitation to empower people to get to the top.
Good.
Right.
I think that culturally, actually, our culture elevates women. Sorry, yes.
It does?
Yes. We are the kingmakers. We make everybody, we dictate the norm. Culture, tradition goes through generations, through us.
Yes.
So we have the power. So if we even said, let's go, at least from where I come from, the mother is very powerful. So if we're to be focusing on that strength and building it and pulling the lessons thereof into the corporate and modern way of life, we would get very far.
Well, this conversation continues. I wish I had the part two of these two these people to talk about the corporate. But let's see how it goes. We're also going to continue with family. We're going to do church, leaving the legacy, whether or not there must be a change. We would have to talk about that. Mr. John Appiah and, of course, Maame Ekua Gaisey have been our guest. We loved the conversation.
Yeah.
We're grateful. We love it.
And I like Mommy's shirt. I
You
see
do.
the man.
The Maame Gaisey. That's me, all right.
Brand. The brand Maame Gaisey.
All right.
Anyways, we're back to do it all over again tomorrow. My name is Kokulumo.
And my name is Biadola. Forgot for a minute.
We'll see you.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.